This interactive spreadsheet is designed to assist in doing financial planning for retirement. You can enter personal values in the yellow fields you see, and you can get specific outcomes. You can enter a personal date of birth, an age that you plan to start working, the age that you plan on retiring, your age at retirement, and the amount of monthly income you desire when you start your retirement. The spreadsheet allows you to enter values for income during retirement, such as Social Security benefits and benefits to receive from a corporate type defined benefit pension plan. The spreadsheet can also allow you to enter estimates for annual inflation during the analysis and for any interest that you might earn on monies that you actually save to fund your own retirement. The personal values that you enter in the yellow fields are used to create results that are displayed in green fields. One of the green fields is this one. It displays the percent of your after-tax income that you would have to save in order to fund your own retirement. Another green field is here. It will tell you the dollar value of your after-tax income that you would need to save to achieve that retirement goal. And based upon that, this green field will display the gross amount of your after-tax income that you would need to make in order to reach the monthly saving retirement goal itself. By design, the spreadsheet will start off with specific values pre-entered in the yellow text boxes. Date of birth is assumed to be 1980. And again, you can change any of these values as we go along. The age you start work is initially set at 25 years. Your retirement age is initially set at 67. That is determined by your date of birth as it ties into Social Security benefits. Your age at death is initially set at also 67. They're set at the same value so that this green field will tell you that you don't need to save anything for retirement because you will pass away in the year that you retire. The other fields in yellow start off at 0. They include the amount of money you receive from Social Security, the Social Security cost of living that will be applied each year, the amount of income you want to receive each month from all your retirement, benefits you expect to receive from a defined benefit pension plan, and the amount of interest that you expect to receive on the funds you save towards your retirement. Those initial 0 starting values will initially make the amount of money you need to save for your retirement monthly at $0, and will also set the amount of income that you need to make in order to fund that retirement savings will also be set to 0. Let's run through a scenario where we assume that there is no Social Security benefit available to us, so we'll leave this number at 0, and we'll also assume that we are not entitled to receive any funds from defined benefit pension plans because all those plans have gone extinct. In short, the only retirement funds we'll have will be those we actually save ourselves. Now, to configure the chart, we're going to set a date of birth at 1984. And we'll assume that we'll start work at the age of 22. That gives us a chance to go to college for 4 years and then start to work. We'll also assume that we will retire at the age of 70. We'll also set our age of death at 95. Based on these numbers we've entered so far, we will work for 48 years. We'll live in retirement for 25 years. And because of the numbers involved here, we will need to save approximately 34.2% of our after-tax income in order to fund the retirement ourselves. Now, so far, we haven't defined any amount of money we need to live off in retirement. Let's assume that we need $5,000 a month to live comfortably in retirement. It's not a lot of money, but it's probably realistic. I'm also going to point out that you'll see that this value is based in 25 years, and that's because everything on the spreadsheet is factored by the current date. This is currently May the 10th, 2025, so we're going to do all the computations on the assumption that these values are 2025 values. I want to point out that so far we've assumed that there is no inflation that we're facing. That's unbelievable, but it's what we're going to do for this model. And we're also currently assuming that we are not going to be earning any interest on our retirement savings while we're collecting it. That's also unrealistic, but to begin with, we're going to use that number. Accordingly, our $5,000 per month target income for retirement means that we will need a retirement nest egg of $1.5 million if we expect to be able to draw out $5,000 a month for 25 years. And this is an easy number to compute because you simply take $5,000 a month times 25 years that we live in retirement times 12. That gives you $1.5 million. In order to save $1.5 million over your 48-year working career, you need to save $2,604 each and every month in order to meet that goal. Or to look at it another way, if we need to be saving 34.2% of our after-tax income, and the savings for retirement needs to be $2,604, well, on that basis, then we need to earn after-tax income $7,604 per month. Again, that's each and every month for the 48 years we're going to work before we retire. Now, to take this another step further, if you need to earn $7,600 after taxes in order to fund your retirement savings requirement, then you need to get a hold of what you would have to make as gross income per year. That requires you to assume a tax rate for federal and state taxes. Having done that, you can get a pretty good guess on what your pre-tax income needs to be in order to match your retirement savings goal. In this particular scenario, I have determined that Federal and state taxes are going to take about 30% of gross salary. Based upon that, you would need a pre-tax income of $130,000 and change in order to meet your retirement funding goal, again on a monthly basis. Now I want to point out that these numbers that we see in this model are predicated on being constantly employed for the number of years indicated, in this case 48 for this scenario. Now that means there are no breaks for time off from work, no periods of unemployment, and that employment income stays constant during the whole period of time. And again, so far the numbers have been worked out on the basis of us assuming that there is no estimated annual inflation rate, and that's what we've got here, and that we're not earning any money or interest on the money we have set aside for savings for retirement. Now, of course, both of those assumptions are not going to be accurate because we're not going to put our money when it doesn't earn any interest, and we know darn well that there's going to be inflation. So let's plug in some realistic values for average annual inflation and average annual interest earned on savings accounts. Looking back 50 years, the annual average inflation over that period has been about 3%. So we'll enter 3% for that value. Notice the big change in the numbers we see here. By just adding some inflation, we've really kicked up the amount of money we need to put aside to fund our own retirement at $5,000 in current dollars. The pre-tax income of $300,000 per year is really huge. Now let's stick in a value for cash savings. Now, this is not a retirement account that involves stocks, bonds, and things like that. This is just cash savings for retirement. So I'm going to enter the same value, 3%, enter key. And that made a big difference. It actually lowered the amount of pre-tax income we needed compared to what it was with no inflation and no interest. So it's pretty obvious that even with an annual inflation rate of 3%, a 3% savings interest rate really helps the amount of money go down that we need to save for our retirement. Now, just so we don't confuse ourselves, I want to point out that $5,000 a month in current dollars, and this is 2025, is equivalent to $11,783 per month in 2054, which is the predicted year we will retire based upon the values we entered in the model. That is to say, we worked for 48 years, we stay retired for 25, and we retire during the year 2054 at the age of 70. So again, this number, $5,000 a month, has been adjusted for 3% inflation over that period of time so that when we retire in 54, we need to be pulling out $11,783 per month. Also, this number here, which is the size of the retirement nest egg we need on 2054 when we start retirement, that number has been factored by 3% interest that we'll earn on the funds in the nest egg as we make our withdrawals. Now, if we assume that interest is zero, and if we enter zero, note that the value jumps up to $3.5 million. So if you take this amount per month times 12 times 25 years of retirement, you'll come up with $3.5 million, which was the size of the nest egg that you would have needed if you weren't going to have any interest earnings on it. However, we do have interest, and accordingly, we said 3%, and that brought it down to just under $2.5 million. Now, to sum things up, the spreadsheet prediction of what you need to fund for retirement is basically heavily dependent on the number of years you live in retirement versus the number of years that you worked and saved for the retirement. It's also heavily dependent on how much money in present dollars do you need to receive during your retirement years. Making allowances for annual inflation and interest earned on money saved for retirement makes a big difference on the amount or size of the nest egg that you will need when you do reach your retirement age. One final point, when you're finished with a particular model and you want to reset the chart, just click this button here. The values in the yellow fields are all set to their starting default values.